The Ark of the Covenant. What is it? What is its importance? What's in it? And where is it currently? Let's discuss the Ark of the Covenant. From the ancient Philistines' unprofitable attempt to steal the Ark of the Covenant to the blockbuster movie Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark that focused on the stealing of the Ark of the Covenant, the world's nations have always coveted the Ark of the Covenant and understood its importance. To begin to understand the importance of the Ark of the Covenant, we must start by taking heed to its title, the Ark. The term ark is used to describe a vessel or a storage unit for something of great value. 3 arks were spoken of in the Bible. The first ark mentioned was Noah's Ark, which housed the entire population of animals and humans remaining after the worldwide flood to repopulate the entire world. Genesis chapter 6, verses 18 through verse 19 describes this.
Genesis chapter 6, verse 18 through 19. But with thee will I establish my covenant, and thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons, and thy wife, and thy sons' wives with thee. And of every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shalt thou bring into the ark, to keep them alive with thee. They shall be male and female.
That was definitely an ark or a vessel that stored great value. It held the promise of the future of the entire earth and the covenant with Noah and his seed that never again would the earth be destroyed by a flood.
Genesis chapter 9, verse 9. And I, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you. Genesis 9, verse 11. And I will establish my covenant with you, neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by waters of a flood, neither shall there be any more a flood to destroy the earth.
The second biblical ark was made of bulrushes. Bulrushes are a type of tall grass found abundantly alongside rivers and lakes. The ark of bulrushes was made by Moses' mother and served to hide the infant child Moses at the river's edge in order to save him from death.
Exodus chapter 2, verse 3. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and dabbed it with the slime and with pitch, and put the child therein. And she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. Exodus chapter 2, verse 5. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the river's side. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maiden to fetch it.
Once again, this ark held contents of great value. Moses, although just an infant at that time, was chosen by Yah to be the future leader of his people. Moses was to lead the Hebrew Israelites to salvation. That salvation was both physical, by Moses leading the Israelites from Egyptian slavery, as well as spiritual. That salvation was spiritual because Yah chose Moses to teach his people and to make a covenant with them through his law, statutes, and judgments so that our nation could receive everlasting salvation through our obedience to Yah and the promise of his Son, the Messiah, Yeshua. So far, both occurrences of the biblical arks showed storage vessels holding something or someone of great value, along with a promise or covenant. The first being Noah's Ark, holding the remnant of the people and animals, and the second being the ark made of bulrushes holding Moses. The third biblical ark is the subject of this video. The third ark is the Ark of the Covenant, and this ark is consistent with the other 2 arks in that it holds something of great value along with a promise or covenant. But this time, the actual physical etched covenant of the law made with the Hebrew Israelites, taught by Moses of the lineage of Noah, is held inside the ark.
Deuteronomy 31, verse 25 through 26. Moses commanded the Levites which bear the ark of the covenant of Yah, saying, Take this book of the law, and put it in the side of the ark of the covenant of Yah your Elohim, that it may be there for a witness against thee.
So the Ark of the Covenant contains the Ten Commandments, which are the written summary of the entire written Torah law that binds the Hebrew Israelites to the contract made with Yah. Just like Moses stated in Deuteronomy chapter 31 and verse 26, this book of the law, that it may be there for a witness against thee. This contract references both the many blessings and the many curses awaiting those that are obedient or disobedient to Yah's law.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of Yah thy Elohim, to observe and to do all his commandments, and all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee. Deuteronomy 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yah thy Elohim, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
The law written in the Torah was constantly taught by the Messiah Yeshua. Like Luke chapter 16 and verse 17 is an example of this, with the Messiah Yeshua speaking.
Luke chapter 16, verse 17. And it is easier for heaven and earth to pass than one tittle of the law to fail.
And the Israelites knew of the prophecies of the Messiah, not only from the prophets, but also the actual law taught them of the Messiah. The Israelites even stated during the Messiah's life that they heard out of the law that the Messiah, Christ, abides forever.
John chapter 12, verse 30. Yeshua answered and said, And I, if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me. The people answered him, We have heard out of the law that the Messiah abideth forever.
So these commandments of the law are held in the Ark of the Covenant and showcase the love of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob for his people, the Israelites. His love was literally written in stone. The Ark of the Covenant holds the promise of Yah engraved in stone by the finger of God.
Exodus chapter 31, verse 18. And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone written with the finger of Yah.
Given the covetous nature of mankind, it is easy to see why the nations from antiquity until today have desired to possess the Ark of the Covenant. The nations have desired to possess the power of the love given by Yah to the Israelites. Heathen nations have possessed idols to both represent and to own their gods, and have thought to be able to do the same with the Ark of the Covenant. But Yah never gave the Israelites a pagan symbol to worship or to own. The Ark of the Covenant holds a copy of a legal contract document. The nations are misguided. Just like a legal contract printed today, it does no good to possess the contract if your name is not on it. And the nations cannot erase the children of Israel's names and replace their names because, again, the Ark of the Covenant holds a copy of the covenant. The original version of the covenant is held in heaven and therefore unchangeable.
Hebrews chapter 9, verse 23. Those things which are copies of the heavenly originals had to be purified in that way. But the heavenly things themselves require much better sacrifices. For the Messiah did not go into a holy place made by human hands, which was a copy of the real one. He went into heaven itself, where he now appears on our behalf in presence of Yah.
Ark of the Covenant holds a copy of the covenant. The original version of the covenant is held in heaven and unchangeable. Because Yah's covenant is unchangeable, it has been futile for the nations to try to steal the Ark of the Covenant in the past, and equally futile for the nations to try to make claim that they have it today. During the biblical time that Samuel served as judge over the Israelites, the Philistines took the Ark of the Covenant, but Yah caused mice to overrun their countrysides, and Yah caused the people to suffer from hemorrhoids so badly that they returned the ark.
1 Samuel chapter 6, verse 5. Images of your emerods and images of your mice that mar the land, and ye shall give glory unto Yah of Israel. And they laid the ark of Yah upon the cart, and the coffer with the mice of gold, and the image of their emerods.
One city of the Philistines dared to look inside the Ark of the Covenant, and as a result, more than 50,000 men of that city were killed.
1 Samuel chapter 6, verse 19. And he smote the men of Bethshemesh because they had looked into the ark of Yah. Even he smote of the people 50,000 threescore and 10 men.
A fictional blockbuster movie series featuring Indiana Jones, called Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, borrowed from the Ark's true biblical history. Near the end of the movie, the Nazi army officials opened the Ark and looked inside. And as a result of this act, the Nazis were immediately destroyed. From history to fantasy to current day news, there have been various peoples who have falsely claimed to have found or possessed the Ark today, including Ethiopia, Rome, and various archaeologists. So, is there only one item in this highly sought after Ark? No. In addition to the copy of the covenant made with the Hebrew Israelite nation, there are two other items in the Ark of the Covenant.
Hebrews chapter 9, verse 4. The Ark of the Covenant overlaid round about with gold, wherein was the golden pot that had manna, and Aaron's rod that budded, and the tables of the covenant. Inside the Ark of the Covenant also referred to by the title. Ark of Testimony is 3 items: the golden pot containing manna, Aaron's rod, and the tables of the covenant.
As stated, the tables of the covenant hold a summary of Yah's law, the agreements of the legal contract that Yah made with his people. This legal contract is based on both parties fulfilling the points of the contract. This involves the Israelites promising to obey Yah and his laws, and Yah promising to give salvation and innumerable blessings to those who are obedient, and conversely, promising to give innumerable curses to those who are disobedient. The 2 remaining items in the Ark of the Covenant showcase this promise of salvation and blessings through obedience, or the curses promised to the Israelites through disobedience. Directly following Yah saving the Israelites from the Egyptian captivity, they cried and complained of hunger and stated that they would have preferred to eat plentifully and die in Egypt than to wander in the wilderness starving. Yah in turn rained down angels' food for his people to eat. They called it manna. This manna came with rules and the Sabbath day law to follow, and Yah tested them as to whether they would obey or disobey.
Exodus chapter 16, verse 4. Then said Yah unto Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no.
The golden pot of manna was thus placed in the Ark of the Covenant to remind the Israelites of Yah saving them from the Egyptian captivity, the blessings of being fed angels' food in the wilderness, and his promise of eternal salvation and blessings through the obedience to his law or curses through disobedience.
Exodus chapter 16, verse 32. And Moses said, This is a thing which Yah commandeth. Fill an omer of it to be kept for your generations, that they may see the bread wherewith I fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you forth from the land of Egypt. Exodus chapter 16, verse 33. And Moses said unto Aaron, Take a pot, and put an omer full of manna therein, and lay it up before Yah to be kept for your generations. As Yah commandeth Moses, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony.
The last item that was placed in the Ark of the Covenant was Aaron's rod that budded. Aaron's rod was also connected to the promise of salvation through obedience or curses through disobedience to Yah's law. Aaron's rod made from an almond tree served as a warning to the 12 tribes of Israel to respect the order of Yah's laws. Prior to the rod being placed into the ark, Korah, who was from the tribe of Levi and a cousin of Moses, caused an uprising against Moses and Aaron. Korah felt that because he was also part of the tribe of Levi, the priestly tribe, that he had a right to lead the people as much as Moses and Aaron. Yah abhorred the rebellion of Korah and his fellows. For their disobedience, Yah caused the earth to open and swallow up Korah and his cohorts and everything that pertained to them.
Numbers chapter 16, verse 38 and 40. These sinners against their own souls, they shall be a sign unto the children of Israel, to be memorial unto the children of Israel, that no stranger which is not of the seed of Aaron come near to offer an incense before Yah, that he be not as Korah and his company, as Yah said to him by the hand of Moses.
But the Israelites witnessed Korah's demise and still blamed Moses for Korah's death, and also began to rebel.
Numbers chapter 16, verse 41. But on the morrow all the congregation of children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron, saying, Ye have killed the people of Yah.
Yah sent a death plague into the camps, killing more disobedient Israelites. Yah then instructed Moses to have all the princes of the tribes representing their families to bring forth their rods, to write their names on them, and store them all together overnight. These rods, carried by the Israelite men, were straight, slender sticks cut from a tree. These rods, being long since cut from their respective trees, were certainly dead wood sticks. By morning, only Aaron's rod changed, making it very clear that the family of Aaron was chosen. Aaron's rod was originally cut from an almond tree. It changed from a dead stick like the rest of the family's rods into an alive almond tree branch. And not only was his rod alive, his almond tree rod had blossoms, it had buds, and it had ripe almonds on the same stick at the same time.
Numbers chapter 17, verse 8. And it came to pass that on the morrow Moses went into the tabernacle of witness, and behold, the rod of Aaron for the house of Levi was budded, and brought forth buds, and bloomed blossoms, and yielded almonds.
The fact that Aaron's rod had transformed from a dead rod or stick to a living one was amazing. But Yah made it even further clear to all that this miracle was from him. The almond tree is unique. Its life cycle occurs very slowly. The life cycle of a fruiting tree is as follows. First, flowers or blossoms appear, then the buds, and finally the fruits. The almond tree blossoms very, very early, earlier than other fruiting trees. Its flowers appear in winter, around February, before the spring flowering season. Although the almond blossoms early, it waits a long while to produce buds. Buds don't appear until around May or June, and the almonds don't ripen until September. So to see a rod or branch with all three parts of the tree's life cycle at the same time on one branch is truly amazing. As a matter of fact, almonds were also part of the design for the candlestick in the tabernacle.
Exodus chapter 25, verse 34. And in the candlestick shall be 4 bowls made like unto almonds, with their knops and their flowers.
Aaron's rod was placed into the Ark of the Covenant to stand as a reminder of the rewards of obedience or disobedience to Yah's law. By law, Yah chose the family of Aaron only to hold the office of high priest, to minister to him. Yah made this clear.
Numbers chapter 17, verse 10. And Yah said unto Moses, Bring Aaron's rod again before the testimony, ark, to be kept for a token against the rebels. And thou shalt quite take away their murmurings from me, that they die not.
We've dealt with the history, the contents, and the importance of the Ark of the Covenant. Let's discuss the often asked question regarding the Ark of the Covenant. Where is the Ark of the Covenant today? The most common answer to that question is usually, it's in heaven. When we read the book of Revelation, chapter 11, verse 19, we see that John the Revelator saw the Ark of the Covenant in heaven.
Revelations chapter 11, verse 19. And the temple of Yah was opened in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament.
The Ark of the Covenant, however, that John saw was not the same Ark of the Covenant that was in the temple on earth. Just as the temple that John saw in heaven was not the temple on earth that was destroyed at the time of the Babylonian invasion in Jerusalem. It was also not the earthly temple destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD. The temple that John the Revelator saw was the original temple of Yah that has always been in heaven, and the Ark of the Covenant that he saw was the original Ark of the Covenant, which has always been in heaven. There are 2 Arks of the Covenant. The Ark that was in the temple on earth is a copy of the one that is in heaven. The book of Hebrews speaks to this.
Hebrews chapter 9, verse 23. Those things which are copies of the heavenly originals had to be purified in that way, but the heavenly things themselves require much better sacrifices. For the Messiah did not go into a holy place made by human hands, which was a copy of the real one. He went into heaven itself, where he now appears on our behalf in the presence of Yah.
The book of 2 Corinthians also speaks to the earthly tabernacle and the heavenly one.
2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 1. For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of Yah, an house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens.
In addition, the book of Hebrews, chapter 8, verse 5, described the tabernacle made by Moses as a shadow or a copy of heavenly things.
Hebrews chapter 8, verse 5. Serve unto the example and shadow of heavenly things, as Moses was admonished of Yah, when he was about to make the tabernacle.
So these biblical passages certainly clear up the vision shown to John the Revelator in Revelation 11 and 19. The Ark of the Covenant that was seen in the temple of Yah was the original temple that has always been in heaven and never been on earth. The vision that John saw did not tell us the location of the Ark of the Covenant that was in the earthly temple, but there are other scriptures that do tell us the location of the earthly Ark of the Covenant. Baruch was a prophet alongside prophet Jeremiah. He served as Jeremiah's scribe in the writing of the book of Jeremiah. Baruch was also responsible for the 2 scriptural and the 2 apocryphal books, 1st and 2nd Baruch. In the 2nd book of Baruch, it gave the account of Yah punishing his people Israel with being placed under Babylonian captivity and the first destruction of the temple because of their consistent great disobedience. In that account, after speaking with Jeremiah and other honorable men, Baruch is shown what was to happen to the temple of the Ark of the Covenant. Because Yah would not allow the Babylonians to burn the temple or to have access to the Ark of the Covenant, Yah instructed his angels to burn and destroy the temple, and first to retrieve the Ark of the Covenant. The earth was then instructed to open up its mouth, like in the case of Korah, and to swallow the Ark of the Covenant and other holy items for storage until the time for its restoration.
2 Baruch chapter 5, verse 1 through 7 and 2. And I answered and said, So then am I destined to grieve for Zion? For your enemies will come to this place and pollute your sanctuary, and lead your inheritance into captivity, and make themselves masters of those whom you have loved, and they will depart again to the place of their idols, and will boast before them. And what will you do for your great name? And Yah said unto me, My name and my glory are unto all eternity, and my judgment shall maintain its right in its own time. And you shall see with your eyes that the enemy will not overthrow Zion, nor shall they burn Jerusalem, but be the ministers of the judge for the time. And it came to pass on the morrow that, lo, the army of the Chaldeans surrounded the city. And at the time of the evening I, Baruch, left the people, and I went forth and stood by the oak. And I was grieving over Zion, and lamented over the captivity which had come unto the people. And lo, suddenly a strong spirit raised me, and bore me aloft over the wall of Jerusalem. And I beheld, and lo, 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the city, each of them holding a torch of fire in his hands. And another angel began to descend from heaven, and said unto them, Hold your lamps, and do not light them till I tell you. For I am first sent to speak a word to the earth, and to place in it what Yah the Most High had commanded me. And I saw him descend into the Holy of Holies, and take from there the veil, and the holy ark, and the mercy seat, and the 2 tables, and the holy raiment of the priests, and the altar of incense, and the 48 precious stones, wherewith the priests was adorned, and the holy vessels of the tabernacle. And he spoke to the earth with a loud voice, Earth, 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 hear the word of the mighty Yah, and receive what I commit to you, and guard them until the last times, so that, when you are ordered, you may restore them, so that strangers may not get possession of them. For the time comes when Jerusalem will also be delivered for a time, until it is said that it is again restored forever. And the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up. And after these things I heard the angels saying unto those angels who held the lamps, Destroy, therefore, and overthrow its walls to its foundations, lest the enemy should boast and say, We have overthrown the wall of Zion, and we have burnt the place of the mighty Elohim.
So we see the Ark of the Covenant that was previously in the earthly temple was taken by angels under the instruction of the Most High God to secure it away from the heathen. It was then placed into the earth for safekeeping until the time of restoration. So the short answer for where the ark is it is hidden in the earth for safekeeping. In the historical book of the Maccabees, 2 Maccabees chapter 2 speaks similarly of the location of the ark being hidden in the earth.
2 Maccabees chapter 2 verse 1, verse 4 through 5, and verse 7. One finds in the records that Jeremiah the prophet, after giving them the law, instructed those who were being deported not to forget the commandments of Yah. It was also in the writing that the prophet, having received an oracle, ordered that the tent and the ark should follow with him, and that he went out to the mountain where Moses had gone up, and had seen the inheritance of Yah. And Jeremiah came and found a cave, and he brought there the tent and the ark and the altar of incense, and he sealed up the entrance, and declared, The place shall be unknown until Yah gathers his people together again and shows his mercy.
The book of Enoch, chapter 51, also refers to this.
Enoch, chapter 51. And in those days shall the earth also give back that which has been entrusted to it, and Sheol also shall give back that which it has received.
The Ark of the Covenant stores the contract and everlasting covenant with the Israelite nation. The earthly ark and the covenant is a copy of the original ark of the covenant, which resides in heaven. The earthly ark of the covenant is kept hidden in the earth under Yah's command until he restores his obedient, chosen nation to their promised place in the world. Yah has given his people access to salvation through obedience and having the testimony of the Messiah. Yah has allowed other nations to access salvation only through the covenant made with the Israelites. The nations can also receive salvation through their obedience to the law given to the Israelites and the testimony of the Messiah.
Zechariah chapter 8, verse 23. Thus saith Yah of hosts, in those days it shall come to pass, that 10 men shall take hold out of all languages of the nations, even shall take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew, saying, We will go with you, for we have heard that Yah is with you.
Yah's love for the children of Israel is unending. Both the traditional biblical canon as well as the biblical scriptures found in the Dead Sea Scrolls tell the story of Yah's love for his people. Truly, it is the greatest love story ever told. The Ark of the Covenant is a physical example of this.